826-66, take 1.
My name is Victoria Winters. I have been swept up in the whirlpool of emotions that has as its vortex this great house called Collinwood, and others are swept along in the same inexorable tide.
Hello, this is Malloy. Put Roger Collins on. He's not, huh? Well, you get a message to him. You hear me? Tell him I'm waiting for him. He knows where. Well, Burke, back from Bangor so soon?
I didn't know my trip was the object of such close scrutiny.
The word gets around in Collinsport.
Yes, it does. It certainly does.
Word gets around about other things as well.
Mr. Malloy, do you think if you sat down with me and had a drink, you wouldn't sound quite so cryptic?
I want to talk to you, if that's what you mean.
That's what I mean. What would you like?
I'll have, coffee.
Scotch and water and 1 coffee, please.
I want you to know one thing first off, Burke. I don't like what you're trying to do to the Collins family, and I don't approve of it.
Me? But I'm not trying to do anything to them.
No? Then what business do you have with a man who says he's representing a New York syndicate that's interested in buying up the Collins property? A man you met in Bangor today.
Word certainly does get around, doesn't it? Cheers. So, you think my connection with James Blair has some sinister implications, do you, Mr. Malloy?
Burke, I've known you ever since you were a boy, and I never knew you to do anything without a purpose.
I don't know whether to take that as a compliment or not.
You take it any way you like.
Did it ever occur to you that a man like Mr. Blair has many interests? And it's quite true that one of these interests centers around the Collins enterprises.
So do your interests.
You jump to conclusions, Mr. Malloy. Blair is an old friend of mine from New York. He had business in Bangor. What could be more natural than him calling me up for lunch?
With any other man, it might be natural. With you, I'm not too sure.
Do you think I would have brought Carolyn over to the table and introduced her if it had been true?
Yeah, that's just what I think you would have done. And no doubt you would have told her that he was planning to rob a family.
Now, I wouldn't do such a silly thing as that.
Oh, you would say it in such a way that she wouldn't believe it.
You give me credit for being a lot smarter than I am.
No, I don't. I give you credit for being smarter than I am. I'll never be able to talk around a thing the way you do. So my best bet's to lay the cards right on the table.
What is it you're after?
All I want to know is this. If, mind you, I say if I help you prove you weren't the one who should have been sent to prison, then are you willing to leave Elizabeth Stoddard alone? Stop pestering her.
Has Mrs. Stoddard said I've been pestering her?
You know what I mean. Will you leave the rest of the Collins family alone?
Now, that's an interesting offer. What do you mean by the rest of the family?
I mean the ones that didn't have anything to do with that accident you were in 10 years ago.
Oh, let's see. David wasn't even born yet.
Mm-hmm.
Carolyn was just a little girl. Mrs. Stoddard wasn't involved. That leaves only Roger Collins, doesn't it?
You know darn well what I'm thinking. I believe you've been thinking the same thing.
Tell me, Mr. Malloy, is it your sense of justice that's been outraged?
A man shouldn't be punished for something he didn't do.
But a man should be punished for something he did.
That's the way I see it. No matter who.
Even if it's Roger?
No matter.
You know, Mr. Malloy, you're one of the most completely honest people I've ever met. And that includes myself.
I try to do what's right.
I know you do. Can you remember back some, what, 15, 16 years ago?
Well, what's that got to do with it? The accident was only 10 years ago.
Yes. Yes, you gave me my first job. I remember I was a green boy. You paid me a man's wages.
Well, you did a man's job.
A lot of employers might have taken advantage of an ignorant boy.
Oh, don't get the idea there was any charity involved, because there wasn't.
No. I wouldn't make that mistake.
I'm making you a straightforward offer, a deal.
All right, you said your cards were on the table. Let's see them.
Well, I put most of them down, Burke. All I have left is the whole card.
And you expect someone to come in here with that whole card?
It's possible.
Well, then, what if they don't come in?
You'll know him when he comes in. But if he doesn't come in, I'll have to go looking for him. And soon.
Kitten.
How's the big fish, Tycoon?
Well, to what do I owe the honor of this welcome intrusion?
I am shamelessly chasing Joe Haskell. But I thought it would look better if I said I was looking for you. And being scrupulously honest, I look for you first.
That's my fate. Always second choice.
Oh, not always. You're my #1 favorite uncle.
Well, there's not much distinction winning a popularity contest if you're the only contestant. Yes. Well, now, that is not the job of this department. If you will study the work charts I drew up, you will discover that you should be talking to Hanley in the marketing department.
I'm impressed. You actually do something here.
Well, surely you don't think I was paid my munificent salary for being a figurehead.
Why not? You make a very good figurehead.
I see you're growing into a woman.
You notice?
I noticed that you came here completely full of purpose, gave me a bogus alibi, and then beat 7 times round the bush and didn't say anything. That's a woman.
I confess. I stopped in the Blue Whale earlier and ran into Bill Malloy.
Malloy? What about him?
Well, I've never seen him the way he was. He said he had something terrible to tell Mother. Then he went right up to the house and started right in on her.
What did he say?
I don't know. I was in the other room with Mr. Harris.
What did your mother say?
She said not to worry. But I am worried, Uncle Roger. Mr. Malloy said there was something he had to do, and he was going to do it with or without Mother's approval. He sounded...
Roger! I told you I had to see you.
This is my office, Mr. Malloy. I will see you when I decide, not at your pleasure. Now get out.
No, sir. I'm staying right here until this is settled.
I really came down here to find Joe Haskell. Do you know where he might be, Mr. Malloy?
They'll tell you at the front gate.
Well, I'll ask there. Unless you want me to stay, Uncle Roger.
No, you run along, Kitten. Mr. Malloy and I have company matters to discuss.
Okay. Bye.
I thought you were going to meet me at the Blue Whale.
I can't very well meet you there if you're here, now can I?
All right. This is as good a place as any for us to come to an understanding.
I really haven't the faintest idea of what you're talking about.
I think you do.
Suppose you enlighten me.
I'm talking about the thing that's driving Burke Devlin to do his best to destroy everything your sister holds dear to her.
Does that include me?
If you ask me, it was Elizabeth who kept you out of prison in the first place.
But of course, I didn't ask you.
Well, I'm telling you anyway.
Are you forgetting that you're employed by the Collins family?
I'm employed to run the cannery and the fishing fleet, nothing else.
Then why don't you tend to your job and keep out of matters that don't concern you?
It concerns the good name of Collins, and that concerns me.
Oh, I think this is getting rather tiresome. Why don't you simply tell me what it is you think you know?
What I know isn't as important as what somebody else knows.
Who?
Sam Evans.
Oh, so Sam Evans is your mysterious source of information.
You might as well know it now as later.
A man who is drunk more often than he's sober.
If you think that, why don't you run right over to the sheriff's office and tell Jonas Carter that Sam Evans is slandering you?
Because I don't care to rake up the past. It's done and over.
No, it isn't. And it never will be until Burke is satisfied. Until he's proven innocent. Or until he drags down every member of the Collins family the way he was dragged down.
And just what do you suggest I do about it?
Let me quote the exact words Sam Evans said to me. I am the only thing that stands between Roger Collins and a prison sentence. So, Mr. Collins, I not only suggest you go talk to the police, I insist you do it. Today.
You're insane.
We'll see who's insane.
Jeremiah Collins, sixth-generation descendant of the founder of Collinsport, in 1830 married Josette Lafreniere of Paris, France. The construction of Collinwood, the family mansion, was begun this same year. If you had known what you were starting, would you still have done it? I don't know if it was you building this house or what, but somewhere, some
You're talking to yourself, kitten.
No. I was having a chat with old Jeremiah.
Oh, I see you got the Holy of Holies. Studying up on your ancestors?
Mm-hmm. It's fun. Uncle Roger? Did you get everything straightened out with Mr. Malloy?
The main thing I got straightened out was Mr. Malloy.
I'm so glad. I thought it had something to do with Burke Devlin.
Devlin again?
Uh-oh. Now you're giving me a guilty conscience.
Why?
I had lunch with Burke today.
Whatever made you do a thing like that?
Well, I thought if we got to be friends, he'd forget about whatever it is he seems to have against our family.
And it would take more than a luncheon date to make him forget that.
He was certainly nice enough to me.
Then he must have wanted something from you.
Don't be mean. The only thing he wanted was my company. And he gave me a present to prove it.
A present?
Yes. He said it was expensive. See?
You accepted this?
Yes. Isn't it pretty?
If you've the vaguest idea of what a gift like that cost, you can't possibly keep it.
Why not? Burke insisted.
I told you he wanted something from you. He's paying in advance.
That's not true.
Why else would he give you a thing like this? Look at the workmanship on it. Carolyn, it's bad enough for you to accept a gift like this from any man. But it's unthinkable that you would accept it from Burke Devlin.
Oh, for heaven's sake, Uncle Roger, it's only a fountain pen.
I don't care if it's a lead pencil. I will not have you accepting gifts like this from the man who is hell-bent on trying to destroy me. I'll return it to him.
You have no right to do that.
I have every right. If you're going to insist on acting like a child, then you're going to be treated like one. Hello.
Roger, I have to know if you've decided to do anything about that matter we discussed.
I have decided that I don't need you telling me what to do, Malloy.
Then you want me to do it for you?
No, I don't want you to do anything. Have you no loyalty at all, Malloy, to the family that hired you?
Yes, that's exactly what I have. And as long as I work for the Collins family, I'll do what I think is best for it.
So will I. And right now, I think the best thing my sister can do is to get rid of you.
Hello? Will you ring Burke Devlin's room, please? Burke? Malloy. Can you meet me at the Blue Whale right away? Oh, it's important for both of us. Good.
Well, I suppose I'm really in disgrace if even you won't talk to me.
There's really nothing to say. You've already said it all.
Oh, come on now, kitten. Don't make me seem worse an ogre than I am. If you really want this pen, if it means that much to you, here.
No, I don't want it now. You made it seem, I don't know, sordid.
Well, perhaps I sounded harsher than I intended. Come on, let's see a smile on that pretty face.
All right. I acted impulsively when I followed Burke to Bangor today.
You followed him there?
That's where we had lunch. Only he didn't ask me. I asked him.
Why would you follow him?
I don't know. Everyone acts so mysterious about him. It makes him seem intriguing. Oh, maybe I was just being a lady private eye.
Well, what did you uncover?
It just so happens I did find out something.
Something about Burke?
Yes. He was meeting a man named Blair. James Blair.
Blair. Doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, it meant plenty to Mr. Harris. He was over here to talk to Mother today. And it also meant a lot to Mr. Malloy.
Was he here, too?
I told you he was up here raving about something. Then when he heard about Blair, that really made him blow his stack.
Well, what did all this sleuthing do? Did it pay off? Who is Blair?
He works for a New York syndicate that's looking into the Collins interests.
So that's why Mr. Malloy is on the warpath. He thinks Devlin is starting to make his move against our family, and he thinks he knows a way to stop him. Well, I'm certainly not going to be his sacrificial lamb.
I got here as quick as I could.
You're making the Blue Whale your office now?
Sometimes you get the most privacy in the most public place.
Very true.
Burke, I had to see you before I went any further with my plans.
Well, then I assume your plans concern me.
Well, that they do. Now, first off, I want you to know that whatever happened to you 10 years ago had nothing to do with Elizabeth Stoddard.
I never said that it did.
But you might have been thinking it.
Possible.
Then your thinking's all fouled up. I tell you, Roger's the only one you have any right to have your hooks out for.
Why should I have any animosity towards Roger? Although his testimony did send me to prison, what's 5 years out of a man's life? Modern medicine has increased my life expectancy far more than that.
Look, don't try to talk rings around me, Burke.
All right, Mr. Malloy, as I understand it, you want me to lay off the Collins family, and in return, you're offering me Roger?
On a silver platter.
That's an interesting proposal, Mr. Malloy, but there's only one flaw.
What's that?
How do I know Roger is the only one involved?
I told you, I had a whole card to play, and I'm ready to play it tonight at 11 o'clock. You would be at Roger's office. I'll make sure he's there, and anyone else who's involved. We'll get this whole thing settled once and for all.
I'll be there.
Stay tuned for Where the Action Is next on ABC. Dark Shadows is a Dan Curtis production. Dark Shadows, number 46, BTR 81566, air 8.